please, if you can, go follow my Instagram. It is full of stuff. So far, we got 18 followers, mixed between people that know my channel and people who don't. Please, if you have an Instagram account, please follow me. And also, if you have a Facebook account, follow my new Facebook page. There's not much on it so far, but I'm hoping to expand on that in the future. Now you're wondering, D the B, how do you find these amazing platforms? Well, obviously, go to my main channel, and there will be a tab with my Instagram link and my Facebook link. With that out of the way, let's get started with the video. This video suggestion came from my friend Cheesehead Media. Please go check out his channel. You can find it in my friends page on my YouTube channel. Hello guys, it's D to the B here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Force Unleashed Xbox Edition. Because each version of this game is very different, like the Wii version and the PlayStation 2 edition. They are very different from this, and I've only played the Xbox 360 version. Alright, let's get into it. The game starts off with the Empire invading the planet of Kashyyyk, and at some point the Empire was ambushed. And Vader has arrived to do a mission of his own, which is hunting down a Jedi that is on this very planet. The game has you play as Darth Vader at first, which was pretty cool, to be honest. It's just so satisfying unleashing your force powers from Vader at Wookiees and slashing them down. It's very cool. I really did enjoy playing as Vader. It's cool that you get to run from Darth Vader in Jedi Fallen Order, but I just find it more satisfying as playing Vader. I dare someone to tell me in the comments that they prefer running from Vader than playing from Vader. I dare them. That's what I thought. Something that I'm going to note here is, in the PS2 version, this happens at night, but the Xbox version, this happens during the day. I figured I would mention that real quick. But anyway, he finds the Jedi that he's looking for. Former Jedi Master Kento Merrick, which was a Jedi who abandoned the Jedi Order after falling in love with another Jedi. This is information I found out from the internet. And of course, you get to battle this Jedi, which I'm gonna say, he was the easiest boss ever. Like, even on Sith mode, this guy was easy to defeat. Eventually, when we defeat Kento Merrick, we unleash our force powers, shove him into a tree, shove him on his roof, and eventually shove him through his front door with our amazing force powers. When we defeat Kento Merrick, we walk into his house and we begin to force choke him, where Vader senses someone far more powerful than him, which of course Vader assumes that it is his master, which Kento Merrick reveals that his master was killed many years ago. About the time that Vader was going to finish off Kento Merrick is saved by his son, Galen Merrick, at a very young age, which Vader discovers, but unfortunately, Vader kills Kento Merrick and proceeds to go for the child. But at the same time, the Imperials arrive and they're prepared to kill young Galen Merrick, which Vader, of course, grabs his lightsaber and kills his own men to gain the trust of young Galen, and he takes Galen with him so he can be the apprentice of Darth Vader. Transition to many years later, when Galen Merrick is all grown up, which of course Vader has his first mission for him, to hunt down Jedi Master Ram Koda, if I'm pronouncing that name right. And Vader requests that he kill both the rebels and the Imperials so the Emperor does not find out of Galen Merrick's existence. After Galen Merrick walks out of his room, aka Starkiller, on the way to his ship, he is engaged by his droid, Proxy, who has the ability to take form of any being. Proxy takes the form of Obi-Wan Kenobi to catch Galen Merrick off guard, which fails. After that, we get to meet the new pilot of Starkiller, Juno Eclipse. After we meet Juno Eclipse, we get to meet the Jedi known as Rom Koda by proxy taking his form and reading the Imperial files that were documented about him. We get to find out a lot about Rom Koda, that he was the only Jedi who didn't believe clone soldiers were useful, and the Imperial thinks he's dead. Meanwhile, Rom Koda is attacking a bunch of stormtroopers on the Imperial base and is preparing for the arrival of Darth Vader. As soon as we land on the Imperial base, we need to take down everyone, both Empire and the Rebels, throughout the whole base, which I'm going to say this a bit later in the game. This thing frickin' sucks. This thing took forever to beat. After we take care of the Empire and the Rebels, we immediately walk in to engage Rom Koda, which he is surprised that Vader would send a boy to fight him. After the cutscene is over, we begin to fight Rom Koda, which this was so satisfying fighting this Jedi. After we beat Rom Koda says that Vader thinks he's turned you, but he says that he can see our future and Vader won't always be our master. Which eventually Koda gets distracted and we blind him and throwing him down the ground to his inanimate death, if I pronounced that right. After we defeat Koda, we give Vader Koda's lightsaber, and Vader tells us who our next target is. Keston Paratus. Vader does not expect us to come back alive. Thanks, Vader. Once we arrive to the planet that Keston Paratus on, we need to face threats like people that look exactly like Greedo and these beings made out of the Force / junk, which I found them pretty cool, to be honest. Just imagine creating warriors out of the Force. This was pretty cool. Except when it came to the giant ones. They were very annoying. And unfortunately, because of how hard this level was, I wasn't able to record the fight between Starkiller and Kestis Paratus. So I do apologize for that. After we defeat Keston Paratus, Vader confronts us immediately with our next Jedi that we need to go after, Shaak Ti. And of course, Vader does not believe the 2 Jedi we killed already was enough to prove that he is worthy to fight the Emperor. Then we transition to Shaak Ti and her apprentice, Maris. Shaak Ti tells Maris to go out and hide while she deals with the assassin that has been sent to kill her, which Maris argues that she can fight the assassin, but of course Shaak Ti denies her request, and then she goes running into the forest. Which we get a little bit of a hint of her path in the future of the game, which I'll get into later. When you arrive on the planet, you have to go through many obstacles, like these beings who have weapons that are lightsaber proof, which I thought that was honestly kind of cool. It's cool seeing a material that can block a lightsaber besides another lightsaber. I know, yes, there was something like that in the Old Republic games, but I've honestly never played them, even though I really want to. Other antagonists you have to deal with in this level are 3 separate Rancors. A green one, a purple one, and I think the other one was red? I can't remember. After we deal with the Rancors, we immediately meet up with Shaak Ti. And real quick, I need to talk about Shaak Ti real quick to their deaths. 2 deaths in Revenge of the Sith, 1 in Clone Wars, in this game. But out of all 3 of them, I prefer the one in The Force Unleashed. But that's just personal preference. Then we face up with Shaak Ti, where we have to fight to the death. And she wasn't really that hard, to be honest. Of course, you also do have to face some of the creatures with the lightsaber-proof weapons. And also, coming close to the end of the level, you also have to face a Sarlacc pit and Shaak Ti at the same time. Which, if I'm remembering right, it wasn't even really that hard to deal with both Shakti and the Rancor, if I'm remembering right. All you need to do is press the buttons that are on the screen and let the action happen. To give credit whoever did the combat in this game because it is really good in all the levels. Then, of course, we get the coolest shot in the game. Well, one of them, in my opinion. After we defeat Shakti, Shakti warns us that the Sith always betray one another before she decides to throw herself into the Sarlacc pit and die. Wow, what a way to go. After we defeat Shakti, we meet back up with Vader where they are prepared to deal with the Emperor. So we think. Vader immediately stabs us in the back in front of the Emperor and tells Starkiller that he did not summon the Emperor and his spies followed him here, which the Emperor immediately orders Vader to kill Starkiller and throws us everywhere, including a window, which would lead to the unfortunate death of Starkiller. And that is the end of the Force Unleashed game. And that's the end of one of Star Wars' greatest characters. Nah, I'm just kidding. He ended up surviving. A probe droid grabbed him and brought him back to a medical facility. Then the droids inside are helping Starkiller recover from his small injuries. But of course, we find out from Vader that he did it so the Emperor wouldn't know that he has a secret plan to defeat the Emperor. And as Vader's plan, Starkiller needs to start a rebellion against the Emperor, which Vader tells him that he needs to escape off the Imperial base so he can do just that. In the process of escaping, we need to rescue Juno and deal with all the stormtroopers on the base so they can't tell the Emperor of Starkiller's survival, which we have to deal with a bunch of enemies like these electric troopers and also these big metal troopers, which are kind of hard to beat, to be honest. These things were kind of annoying. Which, if you're thinking that we only faced these guys once, you're incorrect. We faced them much later in the game, and they are a staple throughout the game after this level. After we defeat all the stormtroopers, we find Juno Eclipse, and then we begin to head to the ship to escape from the wrath of the Empire, where the Imperial base is being driven towards the sun. Wow, what a way to go. After we escape the Imperial base, Starkiller tells Juno that we need to form a rebellion. And there is one person to start that rebellion, of course. First Jedi we deal with in this game, Ram Koda. Bit of a nitpick, but how would Koda survive that? After that, we transition to Kashyyyk, where we get to see a younger version of Princess Leia, which has come for the safety of the species of the Wookiees. Then we transition to Cloud City, where Starkiller is looking for Ram Koda, which we can tell that Ram Koda is a big mess after we sent him to his inanimate death. I probably said that wrong. I do apologize. Starkiller tries convincing Ram Koda to come with us to start a rebellion against the Empire, which it takes a while to convince him. Which then, of course, the Imperials come after us, as usual. As we are facing the Empire, Ram Koda is with us, which, another thing I'm going to point out, why does Koda have a lightsaber? And this isn't like the prequel arguments that prequel haters make with like, why does Yoda have a lightsaber? No, this is a completely different. Why does Koda have a lightsaber? Because he lost his lightsaber and it's in the hands of Vader. Like, okay, maybe he got a new one. I don't know. It would make sense though, because it is a different color at least. Also, the argument of Yoda having a lightsaber in the prequels is stupid. I just have to say that. After we deal with the Imperials on Sky City, we begin to take Koda with us to find our next person to join the rebellion, which of course is Princess Leia. And we arrive to the planet of Kashyyyk, which is in ashes. And at some point in the game, we even find the old home of Galen Merrick. All the threats we have to deal with in this level are stormtroopers, incinerator troopers, and the metal troopers from the Imperial level. Eventually, we meet up with Princess Leia, which she said she can't leave for the safety of the Wookiees unless if we can manage to free the Wookiees from the Imperials, which, of course, Starkiller agrees. After we save the Wookiees from the Imperials, we then have to do the hardest challenge in the level. We have to disable the Imperial weapon, which I forget what this was. I'm sorry. If someone knows, tell me in the comments. After we defeat the Imperials and destroy the Imperial weapon, then our next goal is to save Leia's father, Bail Organa, which of course we have to go back to the planet that we faced Shakti on. But of course, her apprentice, Maris, has captured Bail Organa, which Starkiller has to go out to the planet to save Bail Organa. Which, of course, we get to go into a Sarlacc at some point, which was very annoying in my opinion, because especially with all the tentacles grabbing you, you have to be careful, make sure not to get sucked into the Sarlacc, and also you needed to make sure that you didn't get blown through the Sarlacc's stomach, because every time it like breathes or something like that, it pushes you back. Then eventually we face more Rancors. After dealing with the Rancors, we save Bail Organa, where we are encountered by Maris, which of course we have to face. But before we face her, we have to face this boss. It is a type of Rancor, which I honestly forget what kind of Rancor this is, to be honest. This thing was, I think, a little bit hard dealing with it. It's been a while since I've played this game. After we deal with the Rancor, then we have to face Maris, which she was pretty easy, to be honest. I think even easier than Galen Merrick's father. A friend of mine told me that Maris was going to be easy, and look at that, he was right. Maris was pretty easy to beat. Maris, after being defeated, goes off in the woods, and then we never see her again. We don't know what happens to her after this. Basically running away from the dark side. Bail Organa warns us that he has seen a Jedi go to the dark side and what happens, which is obviously a good reference to the prequels. I really love that. After we save Bail Organa, Starkiller, Bail Organa, and Coda meet up and they plan their next strategy against the Empire, which, of course, we update Vader on the process of building the rebellion to fight against the Emperor. Vader tells Starkiller that they are building Star Destroyers on the planet of Raxus Prime. After they talk comes my favorite joke in this game.
I hate being him.
Oh no, just during that gameplay I really thought that was funny. After that amazing joke, we find out that Juno Eclipse was listening to the whole thing, and she is disappointed for us still listening to Vader even though Vader tried killing them. We eventually arrive on Araxis Prime, which I think is the same planet we dealt with Castus Paratus. Yeah, it's definitely the same planet. And we need to slash through Imperials, the guys we dealt with before. Later in the level, we get to face Proxy, but he is taking the form of every foe that we have faced in the game so far. To Maris, to an Imperial Guard, to Shakti, to Coda. Basically everyone we faced so far. Galen Merrick then tells Proxy to shut down and he's faced everyone in his programming. Except Proxy has one that Starkiller never faced. And of course, that is the one and only Darth Maul. I love some of the prequel nostalgia in this game, which I think I remember dying twice during the Maul part, if I'm remembering right. Eventually, we defeat Proxy, aka Darth Maul, and we stab him with both his lightsabers into the wall. Ooh, that looks painful. But the next part is the worst part of this level. Pulling down the frickin' Star Destroyer level. I frickin' hated this level. And apparently a lot of people had some of the same problems that I did with this level. Because if you look on YouTube with the specific level, a lot of people had problems. There's even one video where they edited the part with the Star Destroyer being pulled down, which was really frustrating because I couldn't pull it down until I found out a video. Okay, here's some tips about pulling down the Star Destroyer. Just pull straight down. Just have the knobs, just point them down, because if you keep doing what the controller keeps telling you to do, you're going to be there forever. The controls lie to you. Just pull it down. This part of the level was frustrating. Do you want me to tell you how long it took for me? 3 days! I was so glad when this level was over, to be honest. Usually I would tell you guys my problems with it, probably because I am a decent gamer, get it? But when I did a lot of research into this level, seeing how to beat it, I got a lot of the same responses from other people. A lot of people had the same problems that I did. Except my friends, they were apparently better at this part than I was. After we take down the Star Destroyer, we report to the rebels that the Imperial base has been destroyed. Then we find Proxy, which has lost his main programming of challenging Galen Merrick, which, of course, we're fine with. Which, now, after this level, everything is coming full circle. We are now at the last level. After we get back from Araxis Prime, Vader tells Starkiller that their plan is complete. Of course, Juno is still not for this plan. Then, after Galen and her talk about it a little bit, the Alliance starts having a meeting. Until Darth Vader breaks in and prepares to take the rebels to the Emperor. And Starkiller learns that Vader lied to him, and this was to grab the rebels and destroy them. When Vader is about to kill his student, Galen Merrick, aka Starkiller, Proxy comes in and tries saving Starkiller from his fate, which Vader destroys Proxy. After Vader leaves the planet, Starkiller is using the Force to figure out where Coda and the other rebel leaders are, where they discover that where they are hiding is the construction of the first Death Star. And Galen Merrick has to go on his own to save the rebel leaders from certain death. Then Juno, if this is a good idea and if she will ever see him again, which Starkiller says probably not, after trying to hide it the first time. After he says probably not, then Juno goes by Starkiller and gives him a goodbye kiss. After the kiss, Galen Merrick begins to head on to the Death Star to face the Empire and save the rebel leaders. This is where everything comes full circle. You have to face every single enemy that you've dealt with in the Imperial. They're all there. Face them all in the Death Star. And you even at some point get to see some construction areas of the Death Star, which I thought that was pretty cool. After we battle the Imperials, the Emperor sends Vader to deal with Starkiller. And this is where things get personal. With all the build up in this game with Vader, it's time that we face Vader once and for all. And it was satisfying not just playing Vader in the beginning, but facing him in the end. You feel the tension between these two. Something that you don't really get to experience in Disney's Star Wars, or at least not too much of it, to be honest. Defeating Vader is also satisfying. All the attention that was built up in this game. After defeating Vader, it gets bigger because then we have a choice, a light side ending and a dark side ending. In the light side ending, we gotta face Palpatine. In the dark side ending, we have to finish off Vader. Obviously, I chose the light side ending because I thought it was the better ending. Not saying that the dark side ending is bad, I personally haven't tried it yet. And fighting the Emperor is just as satisfying as facing Vader because we know how the Emperor is like in all 6 Star Wars films. We know all the destruction and pain he has caused, and it is satisfying to take him down. After we defeat Palpatine, Palpatine says he was destined to kill him, but Coda stops Starkiller from killing Palpatine, which unfortunately costs Starkiller's life, sacrificing himself so the rebellion can escape. The game ends with Vader saying he'll hunt down the remaining rebels, and Emperor says that this could be our very undoing. We then transition to the rebel leaders forming the alliance that we know in the Star Wars saga today. And we also get to find out that the symbol that the rebels used was actually from the Merrick family, which was very interesting. Then Juno looks into the stars, missing Galen Merrick, which Kodo says that he knew that Galen Merrick was destined for greatness. And then the game ends with them looking to the stars and remembering Galen Merrick's sacrifice. And that is the end of The Force Unleashed. Yes, I do know. You can also face Boba Fett in the dark side ending. You could also face Luke, which is actually kind of cool. That is Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I love this game. This game was amazing. And in my personal opinion, for right now, the best Star Wars game ever. Yeah, I could see some people arguing with me. Yes, even better than Jedi Fallen Order, even though I didn't hate that game. Later in 2010, The Force Unleashed would get its sequel, The Force Unleashed 2, which I will cover in another video. I will do a review on The Force Unleashed 2. So, yeah, if I had to rate this game, it'd be a 9 out of 10. Alright, tell me what you guys think of The Force Unleashed. And I'll see you guys in the next video.